If I'm asked who is the best combo of heroes in the Walking Dead No Man's Land, and it does come up often, the answer is always going to be Sasha, Yumiko, and Mercer. There are other awesome heroes, there are other awesome combos, but the question of who I should concentrate on first has come up quite a lot recently. Sasha Yumiko Mercer is the answer, and I'll go into why in a bit more depth in this video. How come they're so great? They're ranged, which means that some enemy types are resistant to their attacks. They're noisy too. Sure, each class has some silent weapons available, but to get the best bang for your buck, you're going to need to use weapons that go bang. They don't have any fancy movement options like Rosita Alpha or Parkour Master Herschel Green would provide. So there are a couple of drawbacks, but what do they provide? Well, let's go hero by hero. Sasha is the best leader in the game, and it's because of her leadership trait, good out of bad. She has a percentage chance of turning body shots into charge points. This is what often takes a little bit of explanation because it seems counterintuitive until you start taking on really high levels, one where the enemy is 10, 15, 20 or more levels greater than that of your strongest survivor. Take a look at the rarity level of your survivors. This is done by clicking on the stars on the top right of their profile. It'll tell you when it's much more likely that each attack will result in a body shot. This matters because body shots do virtually nothing. You're taking on enemies with massively inflated hit point totals. You'll be plugging away turn after turn to make even a noticeable dent if you're landing body shots, and you don't have the luxury of doing that on the more challenging difficulties. Even standard attacks, even natural critical attacks don't do enough to stop the undead horde. You have to use charge attacks to have any effect. It really is that simple. Not only can the damage of these be significantly boosted by the use of badges and the ruthless trait on survivors, weapons and armor, a charge attack also often inflicts more than just damage. Ensnaring, stunning, that kind of thing. It lets you take control of the enemy's actions and movement, and that can be essential to having freedom to do what you want your team to do in that mission. Good out of bad doesn't have such a dramatic effect in early missions against less resilient enemies. Heroes like Tara feel much more useful at those early stages. But when you're at the end game, everything depends on charge attacks, a non-standard means of inflicting damage and restrictions on the enemy. There'll be more on that later. Next up is the most straightforward of these three heroes, Yumiko. If she shoots, and the other ranged members of the team have range and line of sight to that target, they will also open fire for a percentage of their standard damage. This means you're landing more shots, having multiple chances for status effects like incendiary or crippling to be inflicted on the target. More importantly, you're giving yourself a much greater chance to make a charged attack with Sasha and Mercer, because you're making additional attacks, and those attacks have a chance to trigger good out of bad. Take this example. Sasha and Yumiko use their charge attacks to get out of a sticky situation at the end of the last turn. The enemy are closing in. You really need to stun them or something, or they're going to get you. You need your people charged. Well, make sure that they're in range of whatever you're attacking and have Yumiko shoot first. Then the other two can hit that target. Every enemy they hit off of the back of this additional firing squad attack can earn them charge points. Then, when it's their turn to attack, they'll be fully charged and you can use their charge attacks. Wash, rinse, repeat. You will have charge attacks available every single turn. It means that having a target-rich environment actually becomes a benefit to you. Last but not least, we have the big guy, the true damage dealer, Mercer. Man-at-Arms means you have a percentage chance to cause a set percentage of the target's hit points to be removed with every attack. It doesn't matter how tough the enemy is, doesn't matter if they're resistant to ranged attacks. Mercer can take huge bites out of even the toughest enemy's health when this trait kicks in. His charge attacks are utterly brutal, and he's an assault. He can hit a huge number of targets every single turn, so he's pretty much always guaranteed to be charged if you use Yumiko wisely, as mentioned before. There are more ways to maximize this killer team's effectiveness. Give every member badges that boost damage and critical damage. Re-roll their traits to give them lucky and ruthless. Also, I love critical aim, and marksman is a sensible addition to their traits too. Their weapons and armor should also prioritize lucky and ruthless as well. Primed on the armor is great. Cripple and ensnare on weapons is extremely useful. Yumiko's weapons should really be high power for additional range, and Yumiko and Sasha can easily get hold of weapons with incendiary. That latter trait, which sets the enemy on fire so that they lose health turn after turn, regardless of what happens, is almost essential against tougher enemy types. You can see how setting them alight and slowing them down works very well in tandem on a weapon. I recommend loading someone up with Michonne's Cat, just to guarantee a charge point when needed, and definitely give Mercer the Carol's Cookies support. If he launches a charge attack, with this boosting the damage, you can pretty much one-shot literally anything at any level. Guardian Carol is great. Princess is great. Ezekiel, Tyrese, they're fantastic. I've gone through some of the good, the bad, and the Jerry of the hero selections in a prior video, but when it comes to the S tier of this game, I consider that to be the Sasha Yumiko Mercer combo. Give it a try and see how it works out for yourself. And as ever, thank you for watching.